Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review, and for this review Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Middle Eastern hardcore band Eternal Struggle. The band's new album Year of the Gun will be released on June 4th via Demons Run Amok, Upstate Records and Blood Blast. So, Eternal Struggle, quite an interesting story actually, this band. They are from Tel Aviv, Israel. Which was a bit of a surprise to me when I first heard the first single, Indoctrination, from the band. I was like, surely this is an American band, but no. They are a kind of crossover band between kind of metal and hardcore. I think the only other, I was trying to think about this, like other metal bands I've heard from Israel, there was a band called Rabies Cast. Years and years ago.
Jesus, yeah.
That's like going way back, but that was like about 20 years ago. But I think that was the only other Israeli band that I could actually think of, a metal band anyway. But once I kind of read they were from Israel, the first single, it kind of started to make sense. In Israel, it's mandatory to serve in the military for at least 3 years. They're drafted pretty much like as soon as they leave high school, basically. And indoctrination is about young Israelis kind of admiring the army and being forced into a fate of war and fear and hatred, which all the members of Eternal Struggle had to basically go through. Since then, these guys they've been organising a ton of kind of local shows, trying to support the kind of live community of other bands and collaborating on gigs. They run loads of fundraisers for stuff like Animals in Need, against police brutality, women's rights, and largely successful kind of food drive benefit concerts to kind of raise aid for displaced refugee youths as well as refugee babies as well, who are like kept in overcrowded rooms that are in pretty kind of horrid conditions with no like source of food and stuff like that. So they've managed to raise and kind of donate a lot of money to kind of create better facilities where they are. They put out their debut EP in 2016, and they then won a slot at Europe's largest metal festival, back in the open air in 2017, which then saw them gain support slots with Turnstile, D's Nuts, Biohazard and Atari Teenage Riot. And then late in 2018, Eternal Struggle was picked up by New York hardcore pioneer Brian Mitz Daniels, who had just recently left his band, Madball. And Mitz, after hearing the band's EP, offered to produce the next Eternal Struggle record. He flew out to Tel Aviv to meet the band and then watch them kind of rehearse and stuff. And then they immediately scheduled the very next morning in the studio to get started on the album. Year of the Gun would later be mixed and mastered in Denmark by the hands of Chu Madsen.
Of course.
Big time. The album also features a remix from Berlin's very own social justice warrior, Alec Empire of Atari Teenage Riot.
So you'll never know, like the two times you've mentioned Atari Teenage Riot, both me and Kyle have grinned from ear to ear, which is a surefire sign that me and Kyle are old enough to remember who Atari Teenage Riot are and fucking love them. So
yeah.
Yep.
Everything starts with a fuck, Duncan.
Eternal Struggle, completely new band to me, and I'm assuming probably to you guys as well.
Oh no, I'm a big fan.
I thought so. But regardless of whether we like this or not, you're right there, Duncan. I think you have to give these guys credit where it's due. Like, coming from Israel, which doesn't have like the biggest of metal scenes, and then getting picked to play Vakin and playing shows at Biohazard and D's Nuts, and then getting noticed by someone like Brian Daniels from Madball, and he ends up producing your debut. It's not a bad start to their career as a band, to be honest. So like, even regardless of what I think of this album, like, hats off to them for what they've done so far. Duncan, I'm going to come at you first. What did you think of Eternal Struggle's new album?
There's a lot to like here. Specifically, I'm gonna go with the obvious thing here. The production on this is pitch perfect, like 100% pitch perfect. This has all the attack and aggression of a modern kind of metal hardcore band, very American sounding. And then, the production on the vocal tone, which once again, and I'm with you, Dave, if you close your eyes and listen to this guy do his vocals, he could be one of several different hardcore vocalists from the States. I mean, it is like uncanny. What I love about them, though, is that they attack the songs with a huge degree of kind of furiosity, which does not at any point let up. Like, this is the very fucking definition of a no frills metal hardcore album, front to back, out with the absolutely incredible remix track at the end, which made me happy quite a bit. I mean, this is exactly from the single we listened to, and we were all like, "This is cool." Yeah, this is a whole album of that. So it's like, if you like this single, this is what the album is, and they don't do anything different. Yeah. But if anything, with the sheer number of tracks that are on here, you would expect it to become a bit boring, because it is very, very, very samey. They have a formula and they don't deviate from it at all. But with 14 tracks, the longest being the remix, and coming in at under 40 minutes, none of these tracks stay long enough to even remotely go, well, that riff's been played 1, 2, no, we're on to the next song now. It is literally that. It gets in, it does its business, and gets out, which is, I think, what a lot of maybe more kind of modern metal hardcore bands are struggling with, is the idea of our song should be 4 minutes, because we want them played on, Metal TV or whatever the fucking sites are nowadays. We want them played there, so it has to be 4 minutes long. No. 2.5 minutes and done. Like 2.5 minutes and get the fuck out, because what else are you going to do? And everything through here, the songs are, it's short, sharp statements, and the songs feel like they are punching them in your face from start to finish. And I think that's great. I think this is a very punchy, very angsty album with a lot of heart and a lot of message behind it. Getting a bit more context now makes me appreciate what I listen to more from what you've told me. I think this is great. There isn't really much I can't single out one song as being, this is the pinnacle of their songwriting. The songwriting is consistent throughout the whole album. I can't say this is the one that tries something really different, because the only one that tries something really different is a remix at the end. That's because someone else is doing it. It sticks to what it knows it can do, and it delivers that in every single song, whilst knowing that some songs should be 2.5 minutes, some should be 50 seconds, and fuck it. I thought this was great. There's very, very little to dislike on an album like this. I will say it's not my general cup of tea. These are not the albums I usually listen to. I have an appreciation for it, mostly through knowing you, more than anything else. So my score will reflect accordingly. But if you're into like kind of metallic hardcore stuff, this band should be on your fucking radar, because it's a healthy dose, a really, really well crafted example of how the music should be played.
Yeah. Nice. Kyle, what did you make of this?
Well, when a band comes from somewhere like Israel and Tel Aviv and that kind of area in the world, they've got something to say. This band certainly do have something to say, and I think that's what sets them apart from most other hardcore metal outfits as well. Like, it really does, the message behind the songs and the history of the band itself really does kind of make it special. And they bring that out in their lyrics and stuff, which is really good. Really, really, it's interesting to listen to. And I love the way they they construct their songs with the change ups in the grooves and everything. It's something a bit different. I mean, it's not anything I've necessarily not heard before, but they do it super, 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 super well. And they know exactly what they want to be. And Yeah, I mean, there's not really much. When you give me a hardcore album that's 14 tracks long, I'm probably just going to go, what the fuck? Thank you very much. No way. But then when it's this band, I think it's a bit different, like, because of the things I said. They're very good at writing the songs and very good at the genre. And this is definitely how it should be played. There was absolutely no fuckery with the drums at all. They're all natural. And I was like, well, that's Chua Madsen for you. Yeah. He can do that.
Yep.
And that's why he earns the big bucks and has that massive fucking studio that I am not envious of at all. But no, they really they've got some interesting stuff. But like I said, I can't really pick out a single song except for maybe Pride Kills, but that's more because of the message. But music wise, I'll probably go with Indoctrination or one of the first ones. The guitar tone is insane. I really like it.
Yeah.
And the bass is nice in there as well. So the production was especially well done because it really fits the tone of the band, and they're all there, and everything is, well, it's Chua Madsen, so of course it is. And Alec, when you've got an Alec Empire remix on the end of your album, it can't. If you've caught the attention of that nutbag,
he is. He's certifiable.
Yeah, it's just, and then he does, and it's a pretty typical Alec Empire remix. There's nothing like we haven't heard again from, but he does something with the guitars and the vocal and stuff and just mashes it into whatever the hell he's got. And then he gives it a crazy name and you're like, all right, cool, Alec. But it sets off the rest of the album super well. Yeah. It's a bit long. The end's a typical Alec Empire ending where it's just noise for 4 minutes, but or however long it was. But it works really well. And so I think you get especially the history, the story of how they went there, and then they start recording the next day. It's like, shit, these guys have got something to say, and that really, really spoke to me on some kind of level. So I enjoyed it. I'm not usually a fan of hardcore, but this is something a bit different and something a bit more natural and honest and open, and I liked it because of that. And that's a criticism I often have of hardcore bands is there's nothing fucking here. It's just a bunch of, loud computerized noise. But but yeah, which is fine for many people, but for me it doesn't work. But for this, it really worked quite well because of those things. So
yeah. I'm obviously a big hardcore fan.
You're a mark for this music if ever there was.
Yes, exactly. You can see why I picked this album. I think I agree with a lot of what you guys have said. I think if you are a hardcore fan, there's lots to like about this. And I think even if you're not a hardcore fan, there's elements of this album that you'll probably still get a kick out of.
Oh yeah.
Even though this is hardcore, first and foremost, there is, as it says in the promo thing, there is a streak of straight up metal to this as well.
Yeah, especially in some guitars of the, a little bit.
It's a lot of the kind of lead work and stuff is very kind of metal sounding, but there's also, I noticed in a few tracks, there's a little wee shade of new metal.
There is. I picked up on that. I was like, that's a...
It's not in your face, but tracks like As Heroes Fade and On Broken Backs, some of the rhythms and riffs are quite new metal sounding.
Do you know where you are, Dave?
I'm in the jungle, baby. But I don't know about you guys, but those tracks that had a little bit of the kind of new metal thing, I was getting a wee bit of Snot from it actually. His vocal is a little bit similar. And there was some of the riffs I thought, that's a wee bit, it reminds me of Snot a little bit. Like it obviously has the kind of the Madball and the Hatebreed and the kind of Sworn Enemy kind of meaty kind of hardcore riffs to it, but there were other areas of the album where I was getting a real kind of like new metal kind of Snot vibe, vocally and musically. I think the other thing that has gone for it is the variety of kind of tempos and rhythms. The band, they really like to keep you on your toes, like right from the get-go. It's very rare for a track on this album to stay at a constant tempo or keep the same rhythm throughout a track. They constantly flip that switch from like high energy hardcore punk to mid-tempo grooves to the slower kind of chunkier breakdowns. And I think from that perspective it is quite an engaging album because you're not too sure where they're going to go next on it. It's also an album that sounds like it has real weight behind it. Every riff hits with the same amount of force. Even when they switch into those faster sections, it still remains really punchy. And that snare is tight. Like I love a snare with a bit of a tang on it, and that has tang on it. I think Mitz has done a great job production, and Chua Madsen has worked some extra magic on the mixing and mastering. I'm obviously not as big a fan as Atari Teenage Riot as you guys, but I didn't mind the remix at the end of the album at all. Bonus remix tracks, used to be really popular. Like back in the early 2000s, every album had some sort of bonus track, a remix on the end. But it's not something you see that much of now. Yeah. So I like that addition to the album. It was a little bit nostalgic, if nothing else. I totally agree with you guys. I think if you go into this album knowing what to expect, I think you'll get a kick out of it. If you listen to either of the singles they've released, if it sounds like something you might like, you'll probably dig what these guys are doing on the rest of the album. If you go into this looking for some sort of genre-defining album, with lots of surprises, then it's maybe not for you. But this band, they clearly wear their influences on their sleeve. You know exactly what you're getting musically. It's not reinventing the wheel, but I think lyrically, these guys do have a lot to say, and they really mean it. This isn't a band that are singing about the cliche hardcore tropes just to be cool. You know what I mean? These guys have lived these lyrical themes, so to me, that gives this album a real feeling of authenticity and honesty, which I think is something a lot of kind of modern hardcore albums kind of lack. So, I enjoyed it from start to end. As you said, it's less than 40 minutes, so it's not a long album. The tracks are nice and short and punchy. They do their thing. A lot of cool grooves, a lot of cool riffs. Not a lot to dislike, to be honest. Okay, so ratings for the new album from Eternal Struggle, Year of the Gun. Duncan, what are you thinking for this one?
It's interesting because we talked off air about how I had different grading points for every album we were doing tonight. And originally this one was going to come in probably about a 3, just because of the nature of the sort of music, and I appreciate everything that's in there. It's not something I usually listen to. From the conversation, though, specifically the context about this one, it's given me a greater appreciation of, when a message is genuine, when it's crafted in a genuine way, and it's put forward in a manner where you're living the stories in your music, as opposed to you shop at Hot Topic, and that was the music you heard in there. So it's for my friends, for my life, for my family. Cool. Go home to your nice suburban house with the pool in the backyard. You angry teen. You know what I mean? Like when I hear that, it does give me a new appreciation, and even fuck it, 4. I'll come up a whole point on this one. I think you. It's hard to articulate. I think I could never imagine being in a part of the world that they're in, with the climate and the angst and the social unrest, and then not only trying to do something which is counterculture there, but specifically all the charity work that you've mentioned. Yeah. On top of all that is kind of fucking incredible. Then plus still manage to get the attention of big names in the business, and then still manage to put a fucking album out. Fucking 4 out of 5.
Yep, nice one. And Kyle?
Yeah, I go straight in with 4. That's absolutely, context matters a lot, and in this context, this album absolutely shines like a diamond. It's fucking, it's just everything that went into it and who's coming out of it is amazing. So 4 out of 5. Yep.
Totally agree. 4 out of 5 from me as well. This is authentic. This is authentic hardcore. You know what I mean? It comes with a message.
Yeah.
And it's believable. You know, you hear what they're saying and you believe every word they're saying. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If you want to check these guys out, this new album drops on June 4th. On Demons Run Amok in Europe, Upstate Records in the US, and Blood Blast digitally. If you want to check them out online, it is facebook.com/Eternal Struggle HC. I'll put a little link in the description below to their Facebook and any pre-orders there are for the album. Check these guys out. They demand your attention. Thank you for checking out the review. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.